Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu diesem neuen Video aus dem Vault, Fallout 76. Der neue aus dem Vault-Artikel ist jetzt heute, Stand 29.10.2020, veröffentlicht worden. Und wie ihr sehen könnt, wir haben es jetzt 20:18 Uhr. Ich mache das auch extra groß für die Leute, die das dann eben noch nicht gesehen haben, die das da unten noch nicht sehen konnten. So. Also der neue aus dem Volt-Artikel ist heute ja online gegangen, und zwar geht es hier drum, um die Camp-Unterkünfte, ein Entwicklervideo und die Halloween-Events. Und wir gehen das jetzt mal Stück für Stück durch, dann könnt ihr euch das sogar auch nebenbei ein bisschen durchlesen, dann muss ich euch nicht alles vorlesen hier. Jetzt gehen wir erstmal alles durch und das Video kommt dann auch noch hinterher. Das gucken wir uns dann auch komplett an, das geht 13 Minuten irgendwas. Und lasst euch da schon mal überraschen. So, wir haben fröhliches fast Halloween. Diese Woche präsentieren wir euch ein neues Entwicklervideo. Ne, das kommt ja nachher hier unten da. Und das gucken wir uns dann auch gleich noch an. Dann geht es heute noch, also in dem Entwicklervideo geht es hier direkt um die Camp-Unterkünfte. Die werden da ein bisschen unter die Lupe genommen. Das ganze Video ist leider auf Englisch und mein Englisch ist nicht gerade sehr berauschend. Deswegen werde ich euch das nicht so großartig übersetzen, aber wir werden eben mal so ein bisschen gucken, was es da so gibt. Zum Beispiel werden hier in dem Video Camp-Unterkünfte, sind die neuen Features. Das wird im Dezember mit der stählernen Dämmerung Update und Season 3 an den Start gebracht. Und wie das dann nachher im Endeffekt aussieht, seht ihr nachher hier in diesem Video. Da kommen wir dann auch gleich zu. Was auf jeden Fall jetzt startet heute, ne? Fastnacht, doppelte EP und Lieferantenangebote. Hier kommen wir jetzt mal ein bisschen so zu den groben. Und zwar ist jetzt mal wieder dieses Fastnacht-Event aktiv. Wie ihr das ja hier auf dem kleinen Bild schon sehen könnt. Da gibt es dann eine spezielle Location. Für die Leute, die Fallout schon ein bisschen länger spielen, kennen das ja schon. Das ist auf jeden Fall heute wieder aktiv und das geht bis zum, was steht jetzt? Irgendwo stand das hier. Auf jeden Fall soll das bis Montag gehen. Also, ja. Weil ich glaube, ach ja, hier unten. So, das beginnt heute am Donnerstag, den 29. Oktober um 17 Uhr und endet dann am 2. November um 18 Uhr mitteleuropäischer Zeit. Also hier unsere Zeit. Dann gibt es natürlich Waren um 25% günstiger bei den ganzen Lieferanten und Händlern. Da könnt ihr dann auf jeden Fall noch ordentlich ein paar Schnäppchen machen. So, was haben wir denn noch hier? Stählerne Dämmerung. Artwork ist jetzt in 4K verfügbar. Also das sieht auf jeden Fall schon mal richtig geil aus. Also da habe ich echt Bock drauf. Ich warte nur darauf, dass es endlich losgeht. Still Down. Und das ist jetzt auch schon teilweise auf dem Public Test Servern zur Verfügung gestellt. Ich habe den Public Test Server leider noch nicht installiert. Da werde ich demnächst nochmal machen, wenn ich dann mal so die Zeit habe. Hier, der Kater kommt auch gerade mal ein bisschen vorbei und schnurrt. Vielleicht hört man das Schnurren auch. Müsste ich mal, glaube ich, etwas näher rangehen. Mein Schatz hat sich auch gerade neben uns gesetzt hier. Aber der Kater, der schnurrt und schnurrt und schnurrt und sitzt natürlich direkt vor dem Bildschirm. So, jetzt kommen wir aber erstmal zum Video. Machen wir auch mal auf groß, damit wir das dann eben auch mal zeigen können. Ich werde den Ton, na, lassen wir mal so, ne? Und los geht's.
Hi everyone, welcome to another Fallout 76 Dev Dive. Today we're going to be taking a look at an upcoming feature called Camp Shelters, which is arriving in the game with our Steel Dawn update in December. Joining me today are two of the members from the development team who've spent a lot of time working on Camp Shelters. Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Hi, my name is Dan Nani. I'm a lead designer at Bethesda Game Studios. I worked on 76 before, mostly a nuclear winter, and now here I am working on some shelters content for you guys.
And I'm Aspen Clark. I'm an associate designer at Bethesda, and sort of same as Dan, I worked on Nuclear Winter first, but I've spent most of this year getting shelters in front of you now.
Thanks so much for joining us. Let's get started. So camp shelters have actually been available on the public test server for a few weeks, and folks have been sharing feedback and bug reports. It's been really, really awesome. But for the folks at home who haven't had a chance to try out the BTS, what are camp shelters and what do you do there?
So camp shelters are effectively instanced camps. They're interior locations the players can place down inside of their camps on Appalachia, use the entrance, load up the new instance location, and each one of these is effectively a brand new campsite. Players are going to have their own budget. They're going to be able to use a ton of the items that they've collected over the years and unlocked from the ATX shop. And they're going to be able to decorate inside of these locations and build new structures if they're tall enough. It's just a really open area for more creative expression.
Yeah, when we set out to create shelters, we were really trying to create something for our players who love to build. The builders are one of the things that makes 76 so cool and unique, and shelters is really a system that serves those players.
We've seen actually some of our PTS folks put together some pretty cool stuff, and we've even had some cool things put together internally too. What was the development process like for that and testing out all these new ways to build in here?
So one of the first things that we realized in shelters was that we wanted to give players as much freedom as possible. And that led to us making the decision to create essentially a different building mode for shelters, where a lot of the workshop restrictions that people are used to in Appalachia have been relaxed. Essentially, what these relaxed workshop restrictions do for players is allow them to place things floating. You can place things without all the normal support and snapping restrictions that are, kind of required up above ground. And the super cool thing is you can always toggle the workshop snapping rules back on just as a part of the build menu inside of shelters, so that you can create, really boxy dimensional houses with cool, out-of-place, unsnapped things in the middle as part of your decorations. And we've seen some crazy cool stuff come out of this as part of our internal tests too. We've seen spaceships, we've even seen pirate ships, we've seen people make Donkey Kong-looking levels with floating platforms, murder maze type of shelters that just have all different crazy kinds of ways to kill people that wouldn't be possible without our relaxed restrictions.
Players are creating some super unique, I want to say, they're not assets because, we're giving you things like a table, but you're placing tables on top of tables and creating columns out of it that look pretty cool. And they look like a column that somebody might have just put down as a single object, but by simply putting them side by side or putting them on top of each other or relaxing the restrictions so they can slightly clip into each other, you can make bigger, more complex objects. And, we've just really scratch the surface on what we've done internally, and we really can't wait to see what the players do and what elaborate creations are going to create the objects they already have at their disposal.
Yeah, definitely some elaborate stuff already coming out of these, again, in the PTS. But there's also some really fun stuff that's really simple, too. I think one of my favorites is someone filled an entire shelter with just clowns, and it was terrifying, but also hilarious. And I plan to make a very strange shelter like that myself. So we're actually looking at the utility room shelter right now. Tell us a little bit more about how you get different shelters and what the utility room is.
So the utility room is actually the free shelter that we're going to be offering to all players when patch 24 goes live in December. So as soon as you load up the patch, you will be able to claim this shelter by completing a really brief quest line. The quest is called Home Expansion. It's available to all players when the system goes live, and it's triggered the same way that some quests in the past have been. We've placed posters at every train station advertising a new location called the Shelters Claim Center.
An diesem Plakat kann man wohl eine neue Quest aktivieren.
In Appalachia to complete a super brief quest and claim your free shelter.
Die neue Questline.
The lobby is going to be free to all of our Fallout First members. So again, the day that you log into 76 when this patch goes live, you're going to be able to unlock the utility room through a quest, and you're going to have access to the lobby from being a Fallout First member. So right away, you're getting 2 new campsites to build on top of. And along with that, you can unlock the atrium, which is going to be in the ATX shop. And that one probably has the most vertical space of all 3 locations.
Yeah.
The lobby and the atrium actually let you build tall, which is really cool because you can build into different levels because the floors are foundations. You can just start putting staircases there and walls down and fences and doors, and that's going to allow you to build upwards and fill out the space in completely different ways. Again, the goal is to give freedom and flexibility to the players and the builders and see what they can create with it.
When we first went up on PTS, I think there were some players who hadn't played it yet who were a bit concerned that shelters were only for decorating. However, if you take a look at some of the footage we're looking at right now, I think it's obvious that shelters are also fully support structural building. And in those taller spaces, yeah, you can create
So viele Icons kennt man schon, aber einiges ist auch wirklich
So
neu.
how many shelters can you have, and how do you get into them?
Players can own one of each type of shelter, all at the same time. And these shelters are accessed via what we call shelter entrances. These are placeable camp objects that you can just set down anywhere in your camp, and opening them will take you directly
das ist
to
dann der
your shelter.
kleine Vault-Eingang.
And one of the
Das
very
ist
cool
schon der
things about our shelter
größere und da
entrances
kann
is they
man
can
wohl
actually
nachher
be placed
ausruhen. Das ist
inside
der
of other
ganz
shelters
große,
too.
glaube ich.
So you can create what we internally have
kommen
been
die,
calling a nesting doll of your
Vault-Tür
shelter. So if you
einfach
want
mal
to
so
place down
irgendwo
your
ranbacken
vault
an die Wand.
utility room entrance in your camp,
Beispiel,
and then place
ja,
your vault
baust
lobby
einmal
entrance inside your
in deinem
utility
Haus
room. You can
und
go
schon
straight from
kannst du dann
Appalachia
noch
to your
mal
utility room, and then from your
hopp,
utility room
irgendwo
to the
rein.
lobby without having to return to Appalachia
Und dann
first.
kannst du da wohl noch mal
Okay, so I've
auch
spent a lot of time in my
innen.
shelter, but then I
Das ist
I
ein
decided I
bisschen
want to move my
merkwürdig.
camp.
Du
What
kannst also von
happens to all
einem
my stuff?
Objekt zum nächsten, dann kannst du im Prinzip
So you should
3
be able
Dinger
to move your
bauen.
camp, move your shelter
Oder wie soll ich das
entrance,
jetzt verstehen?
and do whatever you like to do, and it'll still save all those items for you.
Yeah, we really wanted to ensure that the players had a great
Das ist schon ein
experience
bisschen
with shelters,
merkwürdig.
and these are extremely intricately built locations due to the relaxation of rules. And to have to rebuild that over and over again, we can imagine the frustration the players would have. So there's no need to worry about removing it. It's just always stored. Just move your door, and that's it. And every single one that you build from here on out will always remain intact. Unless you want to break it down, then that's your choice.
So we just decided to create the control panel, and that's a
kommt
super
einiges auf
simple,
uns zu.
easy, usable tool for players who maybe have had a little fight and want to repair all their stuff.
Or if they just want to start fresh, that's another option. You can just delete all, and then just recuperate all the resource costs, breaking it down in just one shot, and that just lets players
Ach, du kannst auch
creatively
alles auf einmal
experiment.
abbauen.
We're just trying to make it easy for people to build.
So
dann
I
wieder
know we're
von
still a
vorne
few
anfangen.
weeks away
Ja,
from
das ist auch mal
shelters
eine geile
reaching the live
Aktion.
version of
Hast
Fallout
du gesehen?
76, but are you talking about any more shelters coming other than the utility room, the lobby,
Dann
or the...
spulen wir mal kurz
So-
zurück.
There's great resource costs.
Mal
You
hier.
can just delete all,
Warte. Und jetzt gleich?
and then just recuperate all
Er geht da ran.
the resource costs, breaking
Drückt
it
auf
down in just
X,
one shot,
scrub
and
alles
that just
und
lets
alles
players
wird auf einmal
creatively
weg.
experiment. We're just trying to make it easy
Du
for
kannst
people
im
to
Prinzip
build.
So I know we're
deine
still a
ganze
few
Vault
weeks
komplett
away
leeren
from
und dann wieder
shelters
neu
reaching the
aufbauen.
live
Alles
version of
mit
Fallout
einem.
76,
Ja, das
but
fand
are
ich
you
aber mal
talking
geil.
about any more shelters coming other than the utility room, the lobby, or the atrium?
The easy answer to that is yes, we're talking about it. We're still digging and investigating, figuring out ways what we can do, what we want to create. But we also wanted to leave it up to the community to kind of give us a little bit more feedback.
That's really great. I'm sure everyone will look forward to even more of these things once they're available in the live game. So we already have camps. Camps have their budget, they have placement rules. How do shelters differ from camps, and what can players expect that will be, different when they head into their shelters?
Shelters are using the instance technology. So we wanted to figure out what's different about instance tech. And obviously we are allowed to, break a couple of rules that we can't easily do up in Appalachia, such as floating objects, but also because we're not loading up the entire
die kennen wir ja
Appalachia
schon,
map
die
at
hat
the
ja
same
meine
time
Frau.
and worrying
Die
about,
Dinge nicht.
monsters that are coming in and
Die
fighting you.
Konsolen.
We were
Überhaupt
able to
nicht.
kind of take a little bit of that
Das sieht auch
savings
geil
and
aus.
add it into the budget of each of the
Ja, das
shelters.
ist ja die
And
große.
that's one of the reasons why our shelters can get so
Ja,
ornate
die
and complicated
hatte ich schon
and
gehabt.
complex in a good way,
Hab ich.
cluttered in a
Hast du
homey
noch
feel.
was?
It's because
Ja,
the
die Lampen
budget
kennt man.
is
Die
higher
Nuka-Cola-Flaschen kenne ich
inside
noch gar nicht. Die
the
Lampen
instance
kenne
than it
ich.
is outside. And each one
Die
of
sehen
our
auch nicht
shelters
schlecht
being
aus.
its own instance means that each one can individually take advantage of that increased budget. which means that if you're used to building up an Appalachia, you take that budget, and I think if we roughly say 50% extra, that's your budget and a rough estimate inside of the shelter right now.
Das sieht auf jeden Fall geil aus.
Per
So die
shelter.
Nuka-Cola-Flaschen
Each
jetzt
one
hier.
of them has that. So if you have
Vorne
all
die,
3 shelters,
die drehen,
you wind
die
up
sieht
getting
nicht
the
schlecht.
increase
Was?
budget plus
Neben der
what you
Frosch
already
drin?
have up above in Appalachia.
Yeah, that's really great.
Okay.
Folks who have multiple shelters, they can have different experiences inside of each one and have no worry about their camp budget at all.
Also ich bin auf jeden Fall
And
schon mal
not just the
gehypt.
different experiences,
Allein schon,
different
dass nachher im
themes,
Dezember die Stelle in der
different,
Bruderschaft kommt.
what
Aber der
do
Adler
you
da
want
oben
each
sieht auch
one
nicht
to
schlecht aus.
represent from
Ne?
you? You
Aber
don't
das
have
ist
to
immer
always
ist
just
so
build
dieser
something that
Feuerspeier.
functions and that serves an actual purpose. It could be a
Not
fun house.
rocket.
It could be, showroom of what,
Ja, das ist
whatever it is that you
der
want to
kleine
put
Raum.
inside of it, the
Da kannst
statues
du
you've
auch schon viel
collected.
machen.
It could be a minimalist room with one window inside of it, if that's really what you
Okay.
want to do. It just as an expression, and each one can represent a different way that you want to express your creativity.
So, like we mentioned at the top of this, you both have been working on shelters for quite a while. What are some of your most fun or favorite moments from your development work on the Camp Shelters feature?
One of my favorite parts of developing the system was trying to find a way to tie it narratively to the world of Fallout. I am a quest designer and also a
Ja,
huge
das ist ja der
Fallout fan
Eingang für die
myself.
Kleine.
So one of the things that we really wanted to do was
Achso, und da
not
muss
just
dann hier
drop
die
this out of fiction on our players.
Quest
That's the
starten,
reason why we have a quest that grants
wo du
the
in diesen
player
Bunker
a free
wohl
shelter,
kriegst.
and we'll give them a little bit of context for who created shelters and kind of where they fit into the world. And for our players who have been playing for a while, they may also
die geben
find
aber
a
auch schon
few
ein paar kleine
connections to some
Spoiler
nuclear
jetzt hier,
Witcher
was da
lore
alles so
hidden in the
kommt.
shelters lore as well.
Ja, das finde ich
Dan,
jetzt nicht so
how about
toll.
you? Any
Aber
favorite moments from development?
wenn die Quest nachher draußen
I
ist,
would
werde
say
ich
my
darüber
favorite
auch
moment
natürlich
was when our
Videos machen,
QA
wie
tester
ihr die am
Cassidy,
besten
she dropped
startet.
her first map
Aber das habt ihr
creation.
jetzt schon gesehen.
They've gotten so
Und wie die
good
nachher
at creating
ausgeht.
these elaborate structures. Like I'm a designer. I
Auf jeden
come up
Fall,
with
man
blueprints
kann
and
schon
I
ein bisschen
think
was
of things
machen.
of how they're going to snap together and how they're going to work.
Obwohl, das
But
sieht
she
mir
just
wieder
took
ein
it to
bisschen
a
zu finster aus
completely
dafür,
new
das
level
war.
of craziness in the most fantastic way.
Ich
I've
liebe
never
blaue
seen
Beleuchtung.
a camp built to that level of like minutia of detail of objects on top of. I mean, there was no
Ja,
space to move
aber
around. I
wenn
was
du
just
dir das mal so
walking through
anguckst, und du sagst ja jetzt, das ist zu
felt like
viel,
a fun
aber
house of
guck mal, was du da alles reinpacken
sensory
kannst. Und
overload.
das ist wieder ein
Yeah, it
eigenes
was
Campbudget.
so cool. It was, flames jetting at me and lights
Ja, aber
blinking
er hat
and
das
sounds
Campbudget
going,
halt
and I felt like I was
ausgenutzt.
just walking through some sort of
Du kannst dir
funhouse
vorstellen,
in
wie
this very
kreativ du da werden
Fallout way.
kannst
It
in
was
den Dingen.
amazing.
Luftballon sogar.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us
Die
for this
Herzen.
dev dive. Dan,
Ja,
Aspen, it has
das
been
ist die Frage,
wonderful
wann
having you
kriegt
as our
man
guest
die,
to talk
wie
about Camp
kriegt man die?
Shelters.
It was our
Falls sich schon
pleasure.
jemand
I
hat,
really
sagt
can't
mal.
wait to see what you guys create.
Schreibt mal bitte unten in
Yeah,
die
thank you so
Kommentare.
much. And thanks to those of you who've helped us on the PTS too.
For those of you at home, Camp Shelters, as I mentioned a little earlier, are coming with our Steel Dawn update in December. That's also going to come with a number
Übrigens,
of new
Leute, wir
story
haben jetzt
quests
auch
that you can
den
dig into
Discord-Link
and some other features
aktualisiert.
and improvements. Be sure
Den
to keep
könnt
an
ihr
eye on
auch gerne unten in
fallout.com
der
for more information
Videobeschreibung
about the Steel Dawn
jetzt
update
auch
as we get
wieder
closer
nutzen, dann
to
könnt ihr bei
December.
uns auf den Discord kommen.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
So, und das war's auch schon mit diesem Video. Also, Fazit. So voll wie die Kisten oder wie die Bunker teilweise aussahen, ne? Da waren schon ein paar geile Sachen bei. Wir können ja hier nochmal gucken. So, ne. Machen wir mal da.
First member. So right away, you're getting 2 new campsites
Ein
to build.
Stück
One of those
zurück.
posters, you will be led up.
The
Wo war
you're
das
going to be
jetzt?
able to
Ja.
unlock the
Play.
lobby. Lobby is going to be free to all of our Fallout
Wo
first
sieht der
members.
leer aus?
So again, the day that you log into
Und guckt euch das doch mal an. Ist zwar ein bisschen viel, ne, aber ey, da können wir Kreationen herzaubern, das ist ja das Ende vom Weg. Also Leute, schickt uns mal eure Bilder von euren Camps. Also, kommen wir mal zum Fazit. Ich freue mich auf jeden Fall schon mal auf Steel Down. Die stählerne Bruderschaft. Könnt ihr ja mal unten in die Kommentare schreiben, wer sich darauf auch freut. Und natürlich werde ich jetzt jeden Tag diese Fastnacht-Events durchhauen. Ich werde jetzt leveln bis zum geht nicht mehr, weil doppelte EP. In allen Spielmodi. Also haut die Level nach oben bis zum geht nicht mehr und schließt euch der Fallout Family an. Wir sind eine große Familie und wir retten das Ödland. So, und wenn euch das Video gefallen hat, lasst auf jeden Fall mal ein Like da, abonnieren nicht vergessen. Und wir sehen uns dann zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss!